Hello stringers, this is Voodoo Stick Mod, and today we are going to be making the piano keyboard zipper bag. I am going to be doing the 6x10 bag, which is an applique version. The 6x10, 7x11, and 8x12 all have applique black keys. The 5x7 and the 4x4 have fill stitch black keys. So there isn't a video for those two smaller sizes because it's pretty much a straight zipper bag as far as the steps go, with just the one design element of the stitching the keys and the lines for the keys. So that one does not have a video, but it will have a PDF. This will also have a PDF that is a step-by-step tutorial. So that will also be in with your files. I have the color stop chart printed out, and I've made some notes for myself. The first three color stops are always your routine color stops of initial bag die line, the zipper tack down, and then the top and bottom vinyl or fabric tack downs. Then we have detail and the applique die lines, the tack downs for the applique, the satin stitch for the applique. Then the next 6 color stops are all more construction, where you're going to add your lining pieces, add your hardware, attach the back exterior, attach the lining back panel. And then the last color stop is always a dead stop, so that it forces single needle machines to go off to the side instead of auto centering, because if it auto centers, it can cause some issues with grabbing hardware and things like that, and causing problems that you don't want when you've just gotten finished stitching your bag. So besides having your color stop sheet handy, what are you going to need? You are going to need, as always, a hoop with some medium weight cutaway in it. You are going to need a zipper that is at least 2 inches longer than the width of where your zipper is going to go to. I buy all my zippers in bulk, so they're all extremely long because I can always cut them down. This way I also know that no matter what size bag I'm making, I have the right size zipper as long as I have the color that I need. This one we're going to use a black zipper on. You are going to need 2 pieces of ribby ribbon or fabric that you have treated in some way, so that they're actually, I guess with fabric you don't have to treat it, but you're going to fold these in half so you have a folded edge to use as your zipper stops. These need to be 1 inch wide by 2 inches long. You need 2 of those. You will need some pieces of ribbon for your hardware. Now these, you definitely want something that isn't going to have frayed edges, because we're not folding these under and sewing or anything. They're just going to be folded over with hardware on them. These are normally 5/8 inch wide by 3 inches long. I didn't have any 5/8 ribbon, so I'm using 7/8 ribbon. Either will work as long as it'll fit in your hardware. I have 2 D-rings that I'm going to place at the top of the bag, but the bag has die lines for either 2 top attachments or 1 side attachment. So you can do 2 at the top for a crossbody style bag. You can just do 1 at the side for a wristlet, or you can do all 3 if you want. So you'll need either D-rings or lobster claw clips for that. You are going to need fabric or vinyl. I chose to do fabric for this bag, so I have a black piece for the top, a white piece for the bottom. The measurements for this are going to be in the PDF that comes with the design. I have folded over a 1/2 inch at the on one long edge of each of these pieces and press. I have also interfaced my fabric. Now the easy way I press it to get my fold over is I cut my interfacing a 1/2 inch short, so then that way I can use that as my line for pressing my folded edge over, so that I have a nice clean edge that's going to go up against the zipper. Besides that, I'm going to need some sort of applique fabric or vinyl or whatever. You can do the bag in vinyl too. I just find that the fabric in smaller bags is easier to turn. But you can absolutely use vinyl. You can use fabric or vinyl for your applique. I've chosen to use fabric, which I have applied some Heat and Bond Light to. You want to use the light if you're using Heat and Bond because you do not want to use the ultra. That can gum up your needle. So I'm going to be using this. This piece is way bigger than I'm going to need it to be, but that's okay. Bigger is better because it's always better to have too much fabric to trim away instead of not having enough. I'm also going to need a piece of fabric for the back. Again, I have chosen to use a cotton that I have interfaced. I also need some lining pieces, which are totally full of fuzz because guess who's hanging out with me today? That's right, it's the Meepster. I will definitely be using my lint roller on these as I'm making this. So again, I have two pieces that have a 1/2 inch fold over, and I have one piece that's going to be the back. So those are all the fabric pieces that you're going to need, the zipper you're going to need. So that's all of your usable, consumable things you're going to need. What else are you going to need? You are going to need some sort of scissors to trim away your applique. You can use duckbills, you can use double curves, you can use little snips, you can use cuticle scissors, whatever you are most comfortable with. I always like to have a tweezer on hand for grabbing little thread tails that need to be snipped. I have a rotary cutter for at the end for trimming. You can also use scissors. I have a seam ripper that I'm going to need for when I'm removing the stabilizer from the back of the zipper area. I have a tool to poke out corners with. This is just a big wooden dowel that came with a tube turner. You can use something like this. You can use the blunt end of your seam ripper. You can use a chopstick. You can use the back end of a pencil. As long as it's not going to poke through the corners and rip your project. Hello, Meeps. She likes sticks, so that's why she came over. Okay, you can have the stick, sweetheart. I also have tape. You're going to need tape to tape down certain areas of your design. I have a giant heavy tape dispenser, also good for weapon in case of intruders. I think, oh, I also have a pen and a ruler, and I will show you what that is going to be used for in a little bit. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to put my hoop on my machine, and I am going to run color stop 1. Die line has been stitched. We have all these fun lines. So now I have this area here, and that's what I'm going to use to center my zipper. This is the area here, this center section, we're going to cut away. So this is where the pen and the ruler come in handy. I'm going to flip this hoop over. I'm going to find those center markings, and I'm going to use my pen and my ruler to extend those stitch lines out past the outer side edges of the die line for the bag. This way, when I trim this out later, I will still have guidelines to give myself of where to place the fabric so that the stitching for the lining catches. You do not have to do this, but it does come in handy. So now the next step is we are going to put our zipper in place. So I'm just going to line it up between those two lines that I pointed out earlier. Now these bags are designed with number 3 zippers in mind. You can use a number 5, but it's going to be trickier because these die lines are not going to be properly sized. They're going to be too narrow. So you would need to use that center line to try to center your teeth along it. Now, because I have some issues with shimmy of my zipper sometimes, I take a couple extra pieces and just tape down one side, so it just keeps it nice and straight on that die line. Now I'm going to put this back on my machine, and I'm going to run color stop 2. Color stop 2 has tacked down our zipper So I can remove these two pieces of tape and I can save them for later. And now I need to find my pieces of ribbon that are 1 inch by 2 inches, or fabric if you're using that. I'm going to fold them in half, okay? And the edge with the fold is going to go toward the inside of the bag. I'm going to overlap the zipper, or the die line edge, by about half. Again, folded side to the inside, raw edges to the outside. I just peeled up the tape a little bit on the edge that held down the zipper to tuck the raw ends in. Those are going to be our zipper stops. So remember, folded edges are here, raw edges are here. Just want to tape those down. Now I'm going to grab my fabric pieces that I prepped for my upper and lower bag areas, and I'm going to realize that they were cut a little too short. So we're going to have to fix these, so I will be back shortly. I am back with appropriately sized fabric now, and I am going to lay my black piece of fabric right up along the zipper at the top and tape down my edges. You want to make sure you have it right up against those zipper teeth there, the folded edge. Want the nice folded edge along there. And then I'm going to grab the white piece for the bottom, making sure all my die lines are covered. And again, I'm going to line it, the folded edge, right up against the teeth and tape it down. Now, if you're using vinyl, you do not, obviously you don't want to fold over the edge because that's going to be seriously thick, mega thick. So you're just going to want to put the edge, the nice straight edge of the vinyl right up against those teeth. I'm going to fix this one. It's a little wobbly. Okay. Now I'm going to put this on the machine and I'm going to run color stop 3 and 4. 3 is going to tack down this bottom fabric or vinyl. Then it's going to tack most of the way across the top piece. That's okay. You want it open here so you can get your zipper inside later. Then it's going to stitch the key division detail and give you the die lines for your applique fabric for the black keys. So run color stops 3 and 4, and then we'll come back for the next step. We have now stitched color stops 3 and 4, which tack down our material except for this little section up here, and then did our detail for piano key divisions and die lines for the applique part, which will be the black keys. So I'm just going to move some of my tape out of the way because I'm going to need to put applique fabric down. And I have a piece of fabric that is full of cat hair. Thank you, Meeps. All right. So now this is obviously way too big. So I'm going to figure out about how much of this I actually need and trim it down. Okay. All right. And then this applique is done a little bit differently. Instead of doing each one and die line and tack down and trim and die line and tack down and trim, Ricky has decided to go a different route, and she has done all your die lines, and then you're going to lay one big piece of fabric down, and it's going to do all your tack downs, and then you're going to do all your trimming. So I have taped my fabric down just to hold it in place, and I am going to run color stop 5. Color stop 5 is going to give me all of the applique tack downs I will need to trim around. I will be back after color stop 5. Okay, we have all of our applique tack down lines. So now we need to trim all these out. So I peel up these tapes, and now I'm going to start by trimming one of these edge pieces, and I am getting as close as I can to that tack down without snipping them. Now, if you catch a few, that's perfectly fine. You can always go back and do a little extra trimming. Now I'm going to turn my hoop so I can get this side. Okay, and I'm just going across both of those keys, okay? And then I'm going to come down this side. And trust me, it can be tight in there, but it can also, it's not so tight that you can't get your scissors in there. So I'm going to trim that bottom piece off, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to trim that part off. Again, making sure I'm getting nice and close. Now this part here, I'm going to wiggle my scissors underneath here, and I'm going to carefully get along one edge, and it might take a little bit of little snippy snip 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 instead of zhooshing. Now I can turn this so it works better for me, and then I can do this side here, and I don't like how that's not close enough up here, so I'm grabbing different scissors that I find work best for me. We're getting nice up nice and tight there. Okay. All right, so I feel like I have done pretty well there. Now you're just going to keep repeating that process for the rest of these appliques. To trim any areas where I think I need to get back in there, and I'm going to put this back on my machine, and I am going to run color stop 6. I will be back after color stop 6. We're back. Our satin stitches have all been done. Do not freak out if you notice on some of the bigger sizes, this is not satined. That's because the edge of the bag is gonna stitch right there. So there's no point in putting a satin stitch for what will eventually be in the seam allowance. So now that we have this all set, now we need to start doing our lining. And I'm just going to, if there's any loose threads, I'm just cleaning those up now. Okay. Let's see. Right there. Okay. All right. Now, let us flip this hoop over, and we're going to remove the stabilizer in this center area where the zipper teeth are behind it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my seam ripper and get underneath the stabilizer, but I'm only cutting the stabilizer. I'm not cutting anything else. Now I'm going to use my scissors to carefully trim away just outside of that die line that was set for us in the very beginning. Okay. I'm always moving my hoop instead of my wrists. Get a better cut for myself that way. All right. Trim all that stuff away. Okay. Cool beans. Got all this stuff, all the stabilizer trimmed out. So now we need to lay down our lining piece for the bottom. Okay, and this is why I drew these lines. Now I can lay this on here. Okay. And actually, we're going to do this one just a hair different. I do my bags this way all the time. Normally when I do videos, I tell you to do this one, tape this piece down, run the color stop for that to tack that down, put the next piece down. So I'm going to show you what I do. I do them both together. Okay, as long as you tape them down well, there's no reason you can't do these both at the same time. So I lined them up with the lines, folded edge here, raw edges to the outside, and now I'm just going to tape down the sides. Okay, I'm going to flip my hoop over and just kind of press down to make sure that that tape's really nice and firmly set. Now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run color stops 7 and 8. Okay, that's going to tack this down. It's going to tack most of this down, and then it will wait for me to do the next step. Now it has stitched across here. It's stitched most of the way across here. If I flip it over, you'll see it caught the fabric on the back. The reason that it stops here is for this. Now we need to pull up our tape, okay, on this edge. And we need to open our zipper. If this was stitched all the way down, the ribbon, we would have to try to shove the zipper head underneath the ribbon. Okay, so we're going to just fold everything out of the way, open our zipper a good chunk of the way here, and then I'm going to push everything back, making sure the ribbon's underneath the upper fabric, and then I'm going to tape it down, and now I'm going to put this back on my machine, and I'm going to run color stop 9. Yes, 9. 9 is going to finish stitching this down. Then it's going to add 3 die lines for adding hardware. Okay, so I am back. It has finished stitching this down, and it has given me 3 die lines. The one on the side, it can be a little hard to see because it's right up against that satin stitch, but it's right here. Then there's 2 on the top, which again are going to be hard to see because I chose to stitch black fabric with a black thread. So I'm just going to put a chalk line just above it to help you guys see where those are. Okay, so hopefully you can see that a little bit better now, where those die lines are. Now I am choosing not to put hardware here, but if you did want to put hardware there, you would simply feed your ribbon through one of your pieces of hardware, D-ring, lobster claw clasp, and you're going to want to put it so that the raw edges are outside, the fold and the hardware are on the inside, and you want to make sure you leave enough room away from your hardware in order for your embroidery foot to go past it. I'm not doing hardware off the side, so I'm just going to move to the top here. And on my multi-needle, I can use the stitching line as a guide for where to set my hardware, and I can set my metal right under that. If you have a single needle, you need to put this further into the bag so that your foot doesn't hit it. So you need to line your hardware up more with the zipper teeth, actually over the zipper instead. Otherwise the foot will hit it because of the way that it stitches. So I can put that there. I pull these up and use these tapes. And I'm taping the ribbons down, and I'm also taping the hardware down so it doesn't bounce around and get caught or get hit by the needle or anything like that. So actually, I don't like where this one is. It's a little too far to the left here. It could give us a nice big die line for it, so I'm going to try to center that up a little bit better. Okay, so that's all set now. I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I am going to run color stop 10, and that will tack all these down. Okay, those are all tacked down, so I can take the tape off the ribbon edge, but I'm going to leave this on while I do the next few steps. I'm going to get my fabric from underneath my feline supervisor, and I'm going to lay, this is the exterior fabric that I prepped. I'm not even sure. Okay, apparently we have a place missing dye. Whatever. Okay, so I'm going to lay this on here, and I'm going to tape down the corners so that it doesn't shift. And this is just interfaced fabric. I just use a woven fusible interfacing. All right, now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 11, and then we will come back and add the lining side. We have now stitched on our exterior back fabric, so I'm going to flip my hoop over, and I'm going to look for any thread tails I don't want to be on the inside of the bag, and I'm just cleaning some of this stuff up. Alrighty. Okay, so that's all good. Now I'm going to take my back piece of fabric, moving as much of the Meep's hair as I can. All right, now I'm going to lay this on here so that, again, make sure that all of our die lines are covered. And then you can either reuse your tape or you can add new tape, however you want to do it. I'm just going to reuse my tape. Okay, lay that on there. Okay, that's on there nicely. Okay, I'm gonna flip this over, give that tape a good push down. Now I'm gonna put this back on the machine and run color stop 12. Color stop 12. The back has now been sewn on, so now I'm going to take off my tape, and I'm going to pop things out of the hoop. Okay. Now we just got to do some trimming and turning. So we need to trim the 3 sides of the bag. You can use a rotary cutter and a ruler. You can use scissors, or you can be like me and just go wild with the rotary cutter. All right, I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch past the stitch line. Okay, and that is all set. Now the top I'm gonna do with scissors because it's easier, because what I want to do is I need to flip this over, and I need to cut in but not through the stitching line, because there's a gap here for turning. Okay, now you can either flip this down and tape it, okay, so that you don't have to worry about cutting it off with your rotary cutter. I like to leave my ribbon ends long, so that's why I need to do things a little bit differently. So I am going to tape this down, but now I'm going to go along the back, from here. I want to move this stuff out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to grab my scissors, and I am going to cut along here, but I've moved my ribbon out of the way. Okay, so that's the back, and hopefully if I did that right, haha, I did not cut my tabs off. That's why you want to tape that down. Now, from the back, I can keep my tabs out of the way, and I can round my corner while trimming that other side of the fabric and keeping my tabs and ribbons out of the way. Okay. And then if you are not using scissors and just using a rotary cutter, you want to round off all your corners so that when you turn the bag, they have nice corners and there's not a lot of extra bulk in there. Okay. All right, so now we need to turn this. So I'm going to reach in and I'm going to push out a bottom corner. Okay. Now I'm not trying to turn this bag completely right side out. I am just trying to turn this bag so that I get the lining flipped out. Okay. I'm just using my hand to kind of reach in here and push out the corners for now. Okay, so now your bag is totally inside out, and that's okay. Because now we need to tuck our tabs in. I'm just gonna open my zipper a little bit more. Pull the tape out of here. Okay. That was the tape that was holding the hardware down. I'm gonna reach in and move the zipper. Now I'm gonna take my tabs and I wanna tuck them in. Now you can take a needle and thread and whip stitch this or ladder stitch it closed. I have, however, got way too many of these things to do most of the time, so I use fabric glue. I just tuck in the tabs, I run a line of glue right under that seam line there. And then I just take the other piece that's been tucked in and I just push it down. You can use whatever kind of fabric glue you want. Okay. You might need to hold yours a little bit longer if you use different glue. Now I just need to reach in again and turn the whole bag right side out. Okay. So just kind of turning these corners, pushing them out with my finger, and then that's where this turning stick comes in, and I just use that to push out my corners. Give it some nice, I kind of hold this edge down so I can really get up in here and push that out, and this side's a little easier because the zipper's there. All right, and now I'm gonna close my zipper. There we go. And then I'm just kind of finger pressing this for now, but you can take it, since this is fabric, you can take it over and you can press it with an iron. If you used vinyl, you're going to want to put this under a stack of heavy books, or you can put a piece of felt over the edge and put some Wonder Clip type clips on there. And then the only other thing for this bag is in your PDF, there are dangles. So I'm going to take one of my dangles and a piece of ball chain, and I'm going to put it through the zipper there, attach my dangle, and it's all done. So that is all there is to it. You have now created a pretty piano keyboard bag. If you have any questions, please feel free to check in with the String Theory Fabric Art fan group on Facebook. This bag design, along with the cute little dangle that you see here, can be purchased at www.stringtheoryfabricart.com.